Hi everyone, welcome to the MrpTech podcast. This is episode 98. My name is Matt, and this is the weekly podcast discussing everyday tech for everyday people. And thank you once again for joining me on the show this week. Last week's episode was a whole lot of fun. If you haven't listened to that yet, we had an interview with Chris Bursett from Champlain Valley Search and Rescue. We talked a lot about what he does in the field and some of the technology that they use in search and rescue. That was a whole lot of fun talking to him. We've got a great show lined up today, and just starting out in today's episode, just sort of a public service announcement. I know most of you are probably aware of this at this point, but since I haven't brought it up on the show, the FBI is recommending that everyone reboot their home and business routers because it could be infected with disruptive malware. It's apparently a sophisticated state-backed attack from Russian hackers, and an estimated 500,000 routers and NAS devices could be infected. So what does that mean? Rebooting your routers, what is that actually going to do? Probably not very much. But you should still certainly do that anyway. The FBI is basically acknowledging that this is only going to temporarily disrupt the malware. How can you tell if your router is infected? You really probably can't. But one thing you can do is just not even, and the headlines that I'm seeing, reboot your router. What you probably can do and what you should do is if you know how to get into your admin settings in your router, you should upgrade your firmware first. Then I would recommend rebooting your router. Even change your password if you feel that necessary. All of those steps are probably helpful, but rebooting your router I don't think is the only solution. I don't think that's really going to take care of it. It will, like they say, temporarily disrupt this malware. But basically, it is from what I've read, this malware is more in a listening state and is supposedly just in a listening mode and awaiting instructions. So basically that it could, upon command, launch a crippling internet-based attack. Basically, I would guess like a denial of service attack on a wide scale. So basically the FBI is just trying to get ahead of this a little bit. They're trying to let everyone become aware of it. And so I just thought I'd share it on the show really quickly. You probably, unless you really know what you're doing, can't remove everything from your router, but you can take proactive steps to make your home network a little bit more secure. This affects Linksys, MrpTech, Netgear, TP-Link, and QNAP routers and devices. And it says that most of the infected routers are in the Ukraine, but the U.S. is taking proactive approaches, especially with the United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team. They don't really have anything other than that to report, but it is something that everybody should keep an eye on. Okay, so just getting into a couple of the show topics for this week. One of the things, there's a couple of things I took from last week's episode that I sort of wanted to check up on this week. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do is, I've sort of always had an interest in the weather. My summer job, which I'm going to talk about again in a couple weeks, is I'm outside all summer long, and we constantly have to monitor the weather. And so, as well as I have a long drive to work through a mountainous region, and so in the wintertime, I'm constantly monitoring the weather for my own personal safety. So I've always had an interest in, and well, let's just say that weather has always been on my radar, so to speak. So after last week's episode, I really had in the back of my mind something that I wanted to take a look at and get involved with, and anybody can really get involved with this, and I didn't realize that. I want to talk to you a little bit about Skywarn. Skywarn is a network of spotters all around the United States that report to the National Weather Service in the event of strong storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and other weather-related information, the National Weather Service will actually activate these spotters, and they will report in on their area in the pending event of an imminent storm. So on the Skywarn website, under the About section, it basically says that the United States is severely prone to very severe weather, and each year there's an average of 10,000 thunderstorms, 5,000 floods, 1,200 tornadoes, and 2 landfalling hurricanes. And approximately 90% of all the presidentially declared disasters are weather-related, causing over 500 deaths a year and $14 billion in damage. So Skywarn is a National Weather Service program developed in the 1960s, which consists of trained weather spotters who provide weather reports of severe or hazardous weather. Even with updated technology like Doppler radar, satellite, surface weather stations, technology can't detect everything in the instance of hazardous weather. So the spotters will help fill in the gaps of reporting hail, wind damage, snowfall amounts, water spouts, and sort of as an extra tool for the National Weather Service. As a spotter, basically you have you can become a spotter in 2 different ways. You can actually go to a classroom and take the classroom training, which takes about 2 hours, and you learn the basics of thunderstorm development, fundamentals of storm structures, identifying potential severe weather features, how to report information, what information to report, and basic weather safety. So you can either go in a classroom or you can take the courses online at www.skywarn.org/training, and you can enroll online and you can take the Skywarn classes. Basically, this isn't a very complicated thing to do, and if you're interested in weather, or if you're an emergency service, or you are just an enthusiast, you can get this done very easily, very quickly, taking the online class. I have a lot of experience with weather, so for me it was very easy to go through the material because the questions were common sense. The material was straightforward. There wasn't a lot of fluff to it. There are 2 lessons that you can take when enrolling in Skywarn. One is the role of the Skywarn spotter, and the other course is called Skywarn Spotter Convective Basics. And basically those 2 courses, once you get that, you get a certificate. Then you turn that certificate into the National Weather Service, and they will give you your credentials as a Skywarn spotter. It was kind of fun to go through the training. It did not take very long for me. They basically say an hour to an hour and a half for each lesson. I probably did them both within about an hour of time, maybe even less than that. It was very, very easy. And now I can take that interest in weather and I can use it to help people out, which I thought was kind of cool. I had a couple of friends on Facebook that were really interested in learning about it as well. One of them lives in Texas and is a teacher, and I said, hey, being in Texas, there's a possibility of strong winds or tornadoes. It's good to even just have that awareness of what's happening, so you can pick and you can tell the difference between what's a funnel cloud and what is an actual tornado, what is actually causing damage, and you can learn how the storms build, what to expect from the different types of clouds, that type of thing. It's all pretty simple stuff when you come down to it, but just having that extra knowledge is I'm finding beneficial, not only for my commute to work, but my summer jobs as well, and even just being out in the world in general, keeping everybody safe around me. So I thought I wanted to bring that up. It's called Skywarn. You can become a Skywarn spotter for free by taking one of those training courses, either online or in a classroom. Another topic that got brought up just sort of as a side conversation in last week's show was something that I wanted to bring up now that I had a little bit more time. Some of my relatives have been really big into geocaching for the last probably 5 to 10 years. And if you've never heard of geocaching, I wanted to bring it up because it is a really fun game. It's an outdoor recreational activity, and a lot of people are probably aware of this, but I know of a lot of people that aren't aware of this. So it's an outdoor recreational game that participants use GPS devices or other navigational techniques to hide and seek these containers that are called geocaches. These are hidden in specific locations and marked by coordinates all over the world. Typically, a cache or a geocache is a small waterproof container that has a logbook in it with a pen or a pencil. And other times, there are items in these boxes that you can trade out. You're welcome to take, and as long as you replace that item with a item of the same value or higher value. So basically you fill out the logbook, you write the name in it, your name in it, you mark that you found it, and after signing it, you must put the cache back in the exact place where you found it. It's kind of a fun thing, and if you want to think about like augmented reality stuff like Pokemon Go and that type of thing, this game gets you out, gets you exercising. And the cool thing about it is you also get to find places that you never knew sort of existed. If you're on vacation somewhere, you could pull out your phone or device, and you can follow. Basically, you can see GPS markings all over the place that are geocaches, and you can find new areas that are special to people. A lot of times these are hidden in popular places. A lot of times they are places with meaning that are off the beaten path. And it's kind of a fun way to maybe spend your vacation or free time treasure hunting. And it's really fun. And I highly recommend it to anybody who would be interested in using some technology and being outdoors at the same time. We're getting into some really nice weather for the summer. How it all started is basically there's a really old game called letterboxing, which is very similar. You use clues and references to certain landmarks, and basically these letterboxes would be hidden all over the place in a very similar way, and you have to follow the clues to find the letterboxes. Geocaching is the updated version of it. You're actually using GPS markers to find these boxes. So how do you do it? Basically, you can go online to geocaching.com. You can create an account. If you have an Android device, you can download the geocaching app. There are other free apps that are available. I always recommend the official geocaching apps because you have a little bit more features. For iOS, there's also the geocaching app. There are other free ones that are available as well. And basically, once you pull up the app, it's going to search your location. It's going to find all of the caches that are around the area. And no matter where I go, no matter where I am, there are literally 50 to 100 caches within 25 miles of where I am. And you can pick which one you want to go after. It will tell you the difficulty. It will tell you the terrain, how difficult the terrain is, how big the cache is itself. Is it a small container, a large container? It gives you a description of what's to look for, gives you the activity, who found it last. It will also give you, things you need to know, like are dogs allowed? Is this available 24/7? Is there parking nearby? Can you walk there, bike there? Is it available in winter? What about stroller access? And it goes through all the things that you would need to know, and basically helps you track down the cache. And so it's kind of like a treasure hunt, and it is really fun, really. You can take your whole family out and try it that way. And I suggest that you all give it a shot because it is kind of fun way to find new things out. Okay, and wrapping up with a couple of things here. One thing that I wanted to talk to you all about coming up soon, and I'm hoping June 10th might be the day that we record episode 100. coming up for that, I wanted to talk to you about, I mentioned it a couple of times on the show, we have a t-shirt contest for episode 100, a giveaway. If you go to mrptechreviews.com/contest, you can, for free, sign up for the contest. And basically all you have to do, just give me your name and email so that I can get in touch with you, and give me an idea for a show topic. It could be something I've already talked about. It could be something you want me to talk about. We've had a couple people do it so far. And just fill out the form real quick, and then you're entered into the contest. And during episode 100, I will pick a winner randomly, and I will let you know off air that you won, and I will get you a t-shirt. I believe that we're doing this through Teespring, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they only ship in the United States. So unfortunately, I don't have any control of that, but the t-shirts do look great. I've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them myself that I ordered for my own personal use. And I ordered a red one, a blue one, and a black one. They all look fantastic. And it's kind of fun, just a fun way to celebrate episode 100. So I invite you all to sign up over at mrptechreviews.com/contest. And I'll pick a winner on episode 100. And speaking of episode 100, also on my website, there is a link to the Discord chat room that we have. If you haven't become a part of that yet, it is really fun. A fun way to, in between shows, talk with all the listeners, get to know everybody. We've got a lot of great people in the chat room. Some people toss around ideas. Some people have questions. And it's a way that I can stay in touch with everybody in between shows. And more and more every week are joining. So I invite you to to join in our Discord chat room. You can hop in and out anytime you want to. You can set it so if you want to receive messages saying that there was activity on the chat room, you can. If not, you can turn that off. But it's lots of fun, and I that's what this is all about. I want to keep this as fun as possible. If you're looking to find ways to support the show as we're getting close to episode 100. One of the things that I always say is, I do this for fun, but if you want to support the show and help me, keep me motivated and keep me going, you can do various things. You can go to the website, you can hit the donate button, that will use PayPal. We have an Amazon affiliate link. If you click on that, you can go to Amazon and buy something. I get a small kickback for that as well. We do have a Patreon page too, patreon.com/mrptech. Whatever way is best for you, even the littlest amounts will keep me motivated. So thanks for checking those things out. Thanks for checking the website. A couple other things just off the top now that I have some extra time. With the interviews, I don't want to keep the guests on and as I talk about this stuff, but go to podnuts.com and you'll see a menu with all the shows. You take a look at, the shows like Android App Addicts or the Computer Repair Podcast. There's the Mini PC Show or the Makers Podcast. You can go down the whole list. They're all great shows and they all have great content, and they all are hosted by experts who are, much more knowledgeable in many topics than I am. And I listen to podcasts to learn. That's what I want to do. So the more I listen to shows, the more I learn, the more I understand stuff. And for you, the listener, if you're listening to these shows, sometimes these topics will be above your head and you might not understand certain things. But the more that you listen to them, the more you sort of internalize it and you get the overall big picture of things. And that's sort of what my show's about. I try to keep things as simple as possible for people who are interested in tech, but maybe not have the experience, or maybe that they don't. I try to mix it up so that there are different topics, and you might learn something or be interested in something, and there might be topics that you're not interested in. But 6 months from now, something might come up. You might be talking with somebody, and you may say, "Hey, 6 months from now, you might be talking to somebody about the weather." And you say, "Hey, I listened on a podcast and I learned that there are these things called Skywarn spotters. And they're the ones that really keep us safe. They're the ones that are taking care of us and turning all that information into the National Weather Service." Gives you talking points. And if I am able to help you out in any way, that's what it's all about for me. And I just enjoy doing this. It's a fun thing to do, and I want to keep it as fun as possible. So give me ideas for show topics. You can submit them, enter the contest. I want to make this as much of your show as my show. So you'll have a one-of-a-kind MRP Tech Podcast t-shirt. I think that's pretty awesome. I'm not going to sell them. I'm just going to give one away during episode 100. So keep that in mind. You can also email me if you have questions. And speaking of emails, okay, so if you have questions, you can go to mrptechreviews@gmail.com. Speaking of emails, this email came in a few weeks ago, but I haven't had a chance to read it on air because of the interviews that I was doing. This email comes from Bree, and it said, "Hey, I just discovered your podcast about 2 weeks ago, and I'm already a big fan. I listened to your episode about Linux distros, and I have a question. I want to run either Lubuntu or Mate off a USB stick on my Intel Chromebook. My Chromebook is pretty low spec, 4 gigs of RAM. Is this possible, or should I look into other methods?" Well, I sent an email back to Bree, and one of the things that I said was, first of all, thanks for listening to the show. I'm glad you enjoy it. That really means a lot to me. That's like the ultimate compliment. Linux on a Chromebook is possible, but your mileage is going to vary quite a bit on it. And I used to run Linux on an Acer C720. You really have to do your research. Most Chromebooks are Intel-based processors and Wi-Fi cards, so you should be good there. Thing you got to do is you got to put your Chromebook in developer mode, which is a pain. You got to remove a screw on the inside, and developer mode is such a pain on most Chromebooks because every time it boots, if you accidentally hit the space bar, you're going to basically power wash your system, and that's no fun. So developer mode is a real pain, and you have to jump in the terminal in Chrome OS, enable developer mode, then you have to enable USB boot from the command line as well. When you actually install Linux, for me, it worked great for about a month, and then the network card would just die in Linux, and I'd have to reinstall because even a USB Ethernet adapter would not work. It's just one of those things. The Wi-Fi would be dead. You'd have no Ethernet network, and it would be your Chromebook would be toast at that point. You have to reinstall. I tried Fedora and Tergos, Linux Mint. I even ran Solus for a while, and it was great. I loved having a small computer, compact laptop like a Chromebook running Linux. That may be better now. I'm not sure, depending on the device. But my Acer C720, I just had problems with it. I ended up selling it after a while because I knew we were going to be getting Chromebooks here at the school, and I had no need for it anymore. But I always make sure to have that recovery drive of Chrome OS just in case it doesn't work out. And so thanks, Bree, for writing into the show. I did talk to Bree a while ago and told him everything. And even got them to join in on Discord. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out for that as well. So you can always ask questions. It may take me a couple of weeks to get it on air, but I'm always willing to help out. And like I said, that's why I do this. So that's going to do it for this show, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you next time.